All right, that's a good look at this setup.
Really appreciate everybody tuning in and checking out these North American Indian
Uh, Stone points, I guess. Appreciate you tuning in to realvideo.com for Indian trays or YouTube. And I just keep going forward. And I wanted to feature these today. I had a couple requests, but besides that, it's good to do the display sometimes because a lot of these I don't see that often myself. These are some great stone points that come from the same bin pretty much. And the way I organize my displays, as many have come to learn, but there's so many new people coming by all the time to check out artifacts and, make comments. But it's interesting how things change in terms of your perspective of artifacts. And I've only been collecting a short amount of time compared to you guys, compared to many of you guys. So I'm going to go through these, take a close-up of some of these are my favorites, and they all have a certain place in the display just because of the feel. They fall into a certain category in my mind and in my heart. So they sort of live in the same top shelf quality. I mean, this alone would make a great frame. We're going to start with the centerpiece, which came from the plateau. And these are rhyolite. This stone is in majority rhyolite. And it comes from the mountains here. Now, one way from here in terms of a good day's foot travel would be 13 days from here west. But this is a great tip. And they use so much of this material here, and it's not indigenous to right here. These are all really good size Atlanta dart tips. Sure, we can call them arrowheads. These right here you're looking at definitely were not arrowheads. But they are incredible pieces I wanted to share. I hadn't seen them much. You just keep finding them and you move forward and you share what you find, and you sort of just keep messing around and moving the collection around a little bit. So I'm going to go around vice versa here. I'm going to go counterclockwise. And look at the different hues, if you will, before we go in rhyolite. There's a purplish vein in it. There's the lighter tan, and then there's the darker green. If it was wet, you'd really see it. Really great stuff, though. That rhyolite comes in, and I can only imagine that it was the way they wanted it to be as a stone to work and to make vital tools for their life. Because when they looked at this, or if they made one of these, they were thinking about food. Look at this piece from Notchville 2. I think very early this spring I was able to get this piece, and often on point. Some guys like them, some guys it doesn't matter. I like the reliefs that they do on the backside of many, many points. That aids with the hafting and the shaft. It's good stuff to me. They make a relief strike on it. But this is a really great piece right here from Notchville 2. Notchville 2 has put out a lot of great quality points for Site 3. Fabulous point right here from Site 2 in the Cove. Sort of a purple rhyolite. Just made to penetrate right there. Hard, exact stone. And I wanted to take a little bit extra time. I told myself to go slow on the display just so that I could feature these. point from Site 4, the Archaic. You know, it's funny how we remember things. I remember that day it was absolutely soaking wet out there. I can also often remember that this is the only artifact I found that day there. But it makes you sure glad you went out there and just made an effort to get out there. And although these are not all perfectly smooth and without trouble in terms of the napper, I know many of you guys are napping out there. Once you get it to where you need to get it, it's going to do the job that you need it to do. And that's pretty much what I think was on their mind. They liked aesthetics. Of course they were interested in balance and aesthetics and great looks. We all are. That's a human trait. Look at this piece when you talk about absolute balance. These are pieces from masters. They knew what they were doing. This is from Beaver Point in Site 5E. I don't really think this is broken off the back. A lot of people have their opinions about things, but we'll never know. We're talking about jumping 2, 3, 4,000 years back in time and trying to figure out, you know, how much emphasis they had on getting it done, just getting points made and hafted. I believe they could have made a point like that and just hafted it. A lot of people call them certain things, snap bases and what have you, but you know, most of the time I'm finding, and they're all old enough so it would be patinaed the same off the end. But you know, it's just speculation. It's just I guess a humbling thing just to be able to see these, the personalities behind them all. Here's a great point from Site 6, from the bear. This is a point that I probably found 4 years ago when I was just beginning. Super unique. Again, to me, being able to find an Indian artifact like these or just look at a point, it indicates their need, connected to food, the food chain, you know, absolute need. Here's a point from Site 7, from Stillwater. Just tapered the back right off, you can see. It's just an area hafting and then they were ready to go. These right here that you're looking at, commissioned through the strong, look at the back of that thing. Commissioned through the strong arms and wrists. I mean, these individuals were resilient. They knew what the world they were doing, and I'm going to tell you what, you want to get hit with a 50 caliber shot. That's what's coming at you when one of these would hit the game. Didn't matter whether it was a deer, which was primary, a coyote, a bear, it didn't matter. Just incredible force when it comes to these size things, suited up in an atlatl, commissioned through a real strong shoulder, hands, wrists. Much more resilient than we modern men are. We think we're pretty rough and pretty rugged, but probably doesn't compare. That's an incredible point, isn't it? That piece came from Mecca, and when I found it, there was only probably that much of the tip showing straight up out of the ground. Alright, we're just about finished. The last one is also from Mecca, a favorite. This is one with a little bit of a notch point. But every piece shares the signature of the personality that made it, and the human being that had the need. And I think as collectors, the thing that makes a big difference to us is we get to connect with their lives and their need. from 3,000, 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. Everybody has their story about dispensations and time, but it's eons. There's nothing historic, nothing modern about what you're looking at here. Older than the Egyptian civilization, older than the Mayan civilization, far older than the Iron Age, modern antiquity, anything that you can name. Super old. Which is not the actual thing that makes it so valuable. But to me, what's most valuable about this is the evidence of history, of humanity, of stories that were distorted, corrupted. Hope you find that there. Be well.